Hi, I'm Joe Bailey, and this is 805 Sports Talk. Welcome to another edition, and we got a big show planned for you guys. Obviously, St. Joseph basketball is a hot topic around here. The Knights season ended Tuesday night, but that's not all we got. We got spring sports season is really heated up. Tennis season is really catching up too. March Madness is also here, but Kenny, you and I were at the St. Joseph basketball game Tuesday night. St. Joseph lost to St. Bernard in the regional semifinals at the state level. What'd you make of that game? You know, it was a big lead for the Vikings in the first half. The Knights made quite a comeback there in the second half, but just weren't able to get over the hump.
Well, anytime, especially in the playoffs, it's all about matchups. And St. Bernard point guard Robert Fuller was a very hard matchup for St. Joseph. Tom Mott acknowledged as much. St. Joseph coach Tom Mott acknowledged as much after the game. They just couldn't slow him down, and especially in the playoffs, if you're going to have a chance to win, I think you're going to have to at least be able to slow the other team's point guard down somewhat. St. Joseph couldn't do that, and I'm not sure if they could have done anything differently to try to do that. I don't think a box and one on him would have worked. He just would have dished off. They had other guys who could score. Shane Williams put in 16 points. They had two other players who were in double figures. I thought most of St. Joseph did miss some, we discussed it, they did miss some timely layups, to be honest, easy layups that were quite timely, could have possibly swung the momentum to them, but I thought most of their problem was not their lack of points, but that they couldn't slow St. Bernard's point slow enough. St. Joseph has been in the 60s at least, I think 10 times this year, and I think they've won 8 of those times.
So those are Kenny's thoughts on St. Joseph's loss to St. Bernard Tuesday night. Let's hear from some of the players and Coach Tom Mott after St. Joseph lost 75-66 to St. Bernard in these state playoffs.
The difference was tonight on the floor. You guys got behind in the first half. A pretty wild comeback there in the second half. What do you think the difference was tonight?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we dug ourselves a hole. We shot miserably in the first half. I think we were shooting 6 of 26 from the field. And when you play a good team like St. Bernard, you can't get yourself in that hole. I mean, we knew that we would make a run there in the second half, and we had some, additional opportunities where we could have, cut that lead even more. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do that tonight.
Did St. Bernard, were you prepared for them? Did they do what you expected them to do, or did they have a little bit extra that you didn't think?
We knew that their guards were probably the best guards we played all year, just as far as their quickness, their tenacity, both offensively and defensively. One of the things they did great tonight is they got in the key and they finished. And that's, it was a tough matchup for our guards, and, you got to give a lot of credit to St. Bernard.
Watch you guys pull back in that game. How would you kind of describe the game tonight? What do you think happened out there?
Well, I mean, they hit their shots in the beginning. We're up 20 at half. I mean, we usually come back in the second half, but I mean, they just got ahead of us too much, and they just played better than us. They wanted it more.
You think this team was better than you guys? If you guys played a game, you beat them? How do you think St. Bernard was?
Well, we played them during summer, and we beat them with like 3 seconds left. Joshua hit a layup to win. So, it's they're a good team, but I mean, I wouldn't want to play them again, match up on them.
Okay. How would you kind of describe your senior season here, CIF championship? You guys go 31-4. How would you kind of describe the season?
Well, I've been on varsity for 3 years now, and it's been a ride with all the players and coaches. And I love it. We're family up here, and we did what we did best. That's all I can ask for.
All right. One last thing. What do you think the highlight of your senior season was? Was there a moment that kind of stands out to you? What was the best part of this year for you?
Just when we beat everybody's ass by like 40 in CIF and state, and we just rolled them by, and then we meet someone that can actually play, and they gave us a little competition and gave it to us. But I mean, we played hard, and that's all you can ask for.
Great second half from you guys. I think you guys got a little too much behind in the first half. How would you kind of describe the game tonight? What do you think happened out there on the floor?
I would say in the first half they probably want to win more than we did, and then you get like down by 20 points against a team like this. So you have to get back, We did everything. We were going hard. We were working defense. Our shots were falling, but 20 points was too much, So I don't know. I just want to say thanks to all our fans, to our parents, to our coaches, to my teammates. It was an honor to play, and it was a great season.
Yeah, how would you kind of describe the season as a whole? I know.
Yeah, it's hard to finish like that. We want to go farther, but I don't know, it was great. We won a pack, 8, we won CAF. I have a lot of great memories right now, you know. I'm super excited that I came here. They're my brothers and my family right now.
So that St. Joseph season has come to an end. Another basketball season is also wrapped up, and it's a little bit different. Stanford basketball and Coach Johnny Dawkins have parted ways. Sports reporter Jacob Rayburn has some very interesting thoughts. He's well connected, I guess, to that school and to that program, and he has a different viewpoint, different perspective, and I think it's really interesting. He has some good thoughts. Jacob, what do you think about Stanford basketball, making some news this week?
Joe, I've been a Stanford fan since, Mike Montgomery had his heyday and started in the late 90s, and, of being involved in conversations with Stanford fans, the conversation has always been Johnny Dawkins is an amazing guy, and he checks off a lot of boxes you want in a coach, except he was never able to build a consistent winner at Stanford. Local Santa Maria sports fans, Rigetti sports fans who followed Cameron Walker's recruitment know that Cameron committed to Stanford and Johnny Dawkins for those reasons. It's a great school, he's a great guy, but Dawkins' tenure at Stanford could really be summed up as he had one great weekend several years ago when they beat New Mexico and Kansas to make the Sweet 16. And 8 years only producing one NCAA tournament appearance doesn't really cut it at a school that likes to win championships. So now Cameron and all the other Stanford basketball players are in the situation of who will be their next coach. Coaching at Stanford presents a lot of interesting challenges because of the academic institution that it is, which is one of the things that anyone who followed Cameron's recruitment, they know about, because it's what helped draw Cameron to Stanford when a lot of other universities wanted him to play basketball there. There is a lot of talent at Stanford, and it will be kind of interesting over the next couple of weeks as Stanford kind of decides who their coach will be. And so that's drama off the court. There was some drama on the court locally, a different kind of court, tennis. Tuesday, Lompoc hosted Cabrillo in a critical Los Padres League matchup. Cabrillo was coming off of a tough loss to San Ynez, while Lompoc is undefeated and is now remaining undefeated after topping Cabrillo 11-7. I was at that match, and I caught up with the coaches of both schools and several players to get their thoughts on that game and also the season.
They're pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They're really consistent, but we pulled through because yesterday we had some good practices in, and everyone was feeling it, and we had a little pep talk. And I was like, it's our last year, just gotta win in our home court against Cabrillo.
I've seen that the doubles teams have solidified their positions. They've solidified how good they are, I think, in the area. We're returning to the best doubles teams in the area, and our third doubles team is right behind them. We know we can count on them for points, and that's taken some of the pressure off our singles. And today, Gabriel had a really big win to pull the match out for us.
We've been working really hard for this season. Like I say, it's our last season, and we're just trying to remain undefeated the whole year. This season's gonna be a memory, for all of us, since we're all seniors, and they've been really doing a good job every day, in and out of practice, always early in the morning. I mean, not in the morning, but always early after practice. Coach opens the door during 6th period, and then everyone that doesn't have a 7th period, we just go through and just hit around, mess around until coach comes here.
We're looking not to put any pressure on any.
Yeah, no pressure.
It's all about the next point, and regardless of who that's against, we're not gonna. It's natural to look towards a perennial league champion, but for us, it's just going to be another match, because that's all it is. It's points after points after points, and that's what's going to win matches, not us sitting here worrying about it.
Yeah.
their doubles are really tough. We did what we could with them. They are just flat out good. And I was really proud of our singles for going out there and battling. You know, one little thing here, one little thing there, and it's, you know, maybe perhaps 9-9, and we're going to games. So we're looking forward to seeing them back at our school, and they're a fantastic tennis team. We're looking forward to playing with them.
Well, actually, the supposed Lompoc and Cabrillo rivalry in tennis is non-existent, actually. We're really good friends, really good teammates, actually, and we bring ourselves up even though we may be different schools and different opponents.
Honestly, it's just the process of them getting better and then learning how to win. You know, again, this year the focus has been on learning how to win, finish games out. And for the most part, we're doing that. You know, a couple slips here and there, but it's a part of the process. And I think that the system that we're doing is working. Got a fantastic assistant coach, Randy Hilheimer, who's really laying down some great fundamentals. And, you know, we couldn't be here without him. He's been phenomenal for us.
Well, this team, starting from last year, I see a great improvement. A lot of effort into tennis and the game. Most of the practices, it's 100% participation every single day. They never give up on the ball, and I expect them to improve much more by the end of the season.
Well, winter sports are officially over. The spring season is in play. A Los Padres League baseball team that had won all of 2 league games last year is now in first place, and that is Orchid Academy. It is young into the campaign, but Orchid Academy is in first place at 3-1. The Spartans proved they are for real, beating a perennial league power Cabrillo 4-1 recently. So congratulations to them, well done on their nice start. It's rare when multiple no-hitters are thrown at any level within a few days, but within a few days, 2 local pitchers threw a total of 3, and Katie Barbrick, a senior at Rigetti, threw 2 softball no-hitters on the same day at the Miramonte tournament in Bakersfield, struck out a total of 22. Trevor Garcia, with the grand total of 64 pitches, polished off a 6-0 no-hitter for Santa Maria at Morro Bay. So congratulations to both of those players on a job well done.
Thank you, Kenny. You know, they were both honored by the Northern Santa Barbara County Athletic Roundtable for those no-hitters, especially Katie Barbrick's 2 no-hitters back-to-back. That is impressive. It's tough enough for any ball player to pitch 1 no-hitter, but she went and pitched 2. That's a great season right there in just one day. So we're out of the winter sports, and spring is actually here. And with baseball, softball, we've got track and field and swimming and diving. And then the boys have their 3 seasons. The girls have these in the fall, but the boys now have volleyball, tennis, and golf. And there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players that we're going to be watching and bringing to you, by the way, on the Santa Maria Times, on the Lompoc Record, and in those papers and our other publications, plus our website. So make sure you follow them, and we'll be getting those all for you. But this is one of the best short periods in sports in the whole sports season, the whole sports year. It's NCAA basketball tournament time. And they've got their first 4 play-in games just to get a couple extra games in to make a little more TV money. But it'll really come down to 64 teams are going to play 32 games over 2 days. And then, of course, they'll play it. The winners will play again, so that at the end of the first weekend, we're down to our Sweet 16. And then it seems to slow down because we go to our Elite 8, Final 4. But there are just so many games that are going to be coming up back to back to back to back to back to back on all these networks. It's just going to be wall-to-wall basketball for the opening weekend, and we hope you all get to watch your favorite teams. And I don't know if you want to pick your brackets. You can find those brackets, by the way. We have a website, on our website. You can go to santamariatimes.com, and if you scroll down on the left side, you'll see sports. And there is the NCAA tournament bracket link, and you can go directly to that if you want at ncaa-tournament-central.com. And there are brackets there are game stories, there are highlights. We follow all the action of all the league newspapers will all be participating in this, and you can get a bracket right there if you want to and pick your choices. Now, some of us have dogs in this hunt. Joe and Jacob have Fresno State. They're both graduates of that. They got a tough draw facing Utah guys in that first round, and I'm, of course, rooting for my beloved Temple Owls. They also have a tough draw. They have a game against Iowa in the first round, and if they win that, they get overall #1 seed Kansas. So things are not looking good for the Owls, but we're going to root for our teams, and we hope you're all taking the time to root for all of yours as the NCAA tournament gets underway. So it's a fun time of the year, and we're going to be bringing all of the information to you in our print publications, but it's all there online, and you can click on it all day long and follow our Tournament Central coverage and enjoy the tournament not only on TV but online with all of your Lee Central Coast newspapers. Joe?
Thanks, Elliott. And I think it's a good time to kind of talk about our own March Madness here on the Central Coast, and specifically St. Joseph basketball. Earlier in the show, we talked about how their season ended, but they did win a CIF Southern Section Championship this year. Pac-8 co-champs. They finished up 31-4. So I think my main question to you, Elliott, is how do you still rate this season a success, a resounding success? Do you think it's a little bit of a letdown that they weren't able to at least get to the state final? How do you feel about them, being bounced out in the regional semifinals in the state playoffs?
Well, they played the games to win, and they didn't win all the games they wanted to. So I'm sure there's a little bit of a letdown with the players that they only made it to the state tournament semifinals. And that's the South semifinals. They would have had to win that game to play the South finals, and then the winner of that game will play the Northern champion. So they were still 2 games away. But overall, I think they had a great season. They tied Mission Prep for the Pac-8 League Championship. Each of them knocked the other guy off, so they only had 1 league loss. And then they surpassed Mission Prep in the playoffs by winning a Southern Section Championship. And then, of course, you get lumped into the whatever division the CIF state wants to put you in, and they went to Division 5. And they did a great job as far as they went. I think that we all got to see them play a bunch of games this year, and we saw a lot of things that were similar, where they were close at the beginning. They'd find the other team's weakness, pull out to a bit of a lead, maybe extend that lead a bit more. The other team would make a run, and then St. Joe would answer back, put a lid on it, so to speak, have their own little run, put the game away, go on to the next game. That's what happened to them against St. Bernard. They turned the tables on the Knights, and unfortunately their season came to an end. But I think they have a lot to be proud of. I think it was a great season. They got a championship. They got a league championship, a Southern Section championship, and if you look at it, the Southern Section is the biggest and toughest section, I think, in my opinion, in the state. That's a prestigious championship. So maybe they didn't get as far as they wanted to, but they've got nothing to be sorry about. They did a great job. I think they did an awesome job, so that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think many people would argue that the Southern Section might be the top, conference or whatever you want to call it in the country. You're not going to see that much depth, that much talent, anywhere else. And so I think a Southern Section championship is a huge honor. Kenny, how do you feel about the season as a whole for the Knights? They didn't win that state championship, but you saw it firsthand so much this year, covering them so closely. How would you kind of sum up their season as a whole?
I think for the Knights, the loss last night was a very disappointing ending to a season that was a smashing success. They didn't get the best thing, which is a state championship, but they got a pretty spectacular second best thing, which is a Southern Section Divisional Championship. As I think you've all touched on it, I think the Southern Section tournament is a higher quality of basketball than many state tournaments. St. Joseph's level of play was high. The players' sportsmanship was very good. These guys can be proud of the way they represented their high school.
Definitely. Jacob, turning to you a little bit, you covered Emmanuel basketball for a long time over there in Reedley, a Central Section power, so many Central Section consecutive titles for them. You have some experience with a dominant program. Where do you kind of rate, St. Joseph among the elite teams that you've covered, and how do you feel about their season as a whole, winning a Southern Section championship?
St. Joseph had an amazing season, and I was at their first game, the win over Dorsey in the Mission Prep Classic, Christmas Classic. I would not have predicted they would win 30 more games after that game. I would have predicted they would have been a very good team. So when you think about it, they did exactly what you want. They were a very talented group of guys who got better as the season went on. And I talked to JoJo Walker several times over the course of the season, and he kept saying over and over again, we work as hard as anybody, if not more than everybody else. So talent plus hard work is an incredibly simple formula for success. It just doesn't happen very often. So St. Joseph has a lot to be proud of. And they won a Southern Section championship, which is much more difficult than winning most Central Section championships. And I want to kind of touch on something Elliott mentioned, which is that they were placed in Division 5 this year. It made sense. They're a small private school. But next year, if they compete for a CIF championship, or if they win it, or they're the runner-up, they won't be in Division 5 next year. They could be put wherever the CIF feels they will be competitive. And I'm curious what you guys think about the future for St. Joseph for next season, how they'll fare. Will that even be a question? Will they even be a challenger in CIF? I'm curious how you guys feel about it.
I think they'll be a challenger wherever they're put. They will miss Gabrice Sudden-Yonkis, I believe is kind of. They will definitely miss him. He was very key, besides being a quality guy, high quality guy, a key component to their team. But JoJo Walker's a junior, Scott McBeth is a junior, Morinini is a key substitute. They will have plenty back. I think they're capable of making a deep run wherever they're put.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't expect the Knights to fall off, that much with those two players that we mentioned. Scotty McBeth will be a senior. JoJo Walker will be a senior. They do lose, I think there was 8 or 9 seniors on that team. Christian Rubalcaba, Gabrice, Matthew Gonzalez was a key player at times. Mason Jones was, had some really big moments in the playoffs. Missing those guys is going to be big, but, Tom Mott knows what he's doing with that program. He knows how to get the most out of his guys. JoJo Walker is a dynamic player. He's most likely, I don't know if, I would guess he might be the Division 5 AA Player of the Year. It's going to be either him or Gabrice. So JoJo is an elite player. So as long as you got a guy like that and surround him with some pieces, they're going to be fine.
Right. I think Tom Mott has a long time history of excellence, first at Mission Prep and now at St. Joseph. So I look at him as the kind of guy that just reloads, doesn't rebuild. He has some building blocks like JoJo Walker there and Scott McBeth, and he'll surround them with as much talent as he can. And I look for them to make another deep run in their league and make it to the playoffs. But Jacob's right. They could be moved up into the 4s, 4A, 4AA. We've seen them as high as the 3s in the past because the CIF Southern Section moves you up or down to where they think you're most competitive. We've seen the girls team up in the 3s. In fact, when they won their state championship, it was a Division 3. So you never know where they're going to end up, but they could be back in the 5s. They may take into account the graduation, but they don't often do that. They always think in terms of this is a competitive team, let's see what they'll do if we bump them up into a tougher division. But Tom Mott instills in these kids the work ethic, the play ethic, that they're not going to be afraid of anybody, whether it's the Pac-8 League with a tough Mission Prep, Arroyo Grande, Rigetti, Pioneer Valley, Atascadero. Those guys, it's not an easy league to just survive that league, which is the first step to making the playoffs. And then whatever the division they're put in the Southern Section, Tom Mott will have them prepared for it because they play tough preseason games, they play in a tough league, so he gets them ready. So they're going to be hurting a little bit with the loss of a couple of the key players like Sedonicus and Rubalcaba, but they'll be all right. I think that he's just going to find a different way to play it, and I'm looking forward to it already, but I don't want to rush it because we've still got the spring baseball and softball and the other spring seasons, and then we're going to do our Little League and Babe Ruth seasons, and then we got to go through football and before we get back to the winter seasons again. But it's one good reason to look forward to another season when it comes around in about 9 months.
Yeah, so in conclusion, we don't get too many CIF Southern Section Championships out here on the Central Coast, especially in basketball. So congratulations to the St. Joseph boys basketball team. That was a great run through the sectional playoffs and in the state playoffs. So I don't think you could take anything away from them. So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another edition of 805 Sports Talk. We got another one planned to go live on April 1st, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to follow all of us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Jay Bailey, SM Sports at Twitter, Jacob's on Twitter, Jay and Rayburn at Twitter, all on Facebook, and also obviously our print publications come out daily, so make sure to check all that stuff out.
Santa Maria Times, make sure you read it or follow us online. We update stories constantly, and we put them online so that as fast as we can get them, we get them to you. SantaMariaTimes.com, LompocRecord.com, our other publications, the Times Press Recorder, San Ynez Valley News, Napomo Adobe. We have websites where we keep them updated and keep them current, and you can check them out every afternoon to see what we're up to, every night to see the game stories, and make sure that you follow us in print as well, because as we continue our commitment to bring you the most comprehensive high school and youth sports coverage anywhere on the Central Coast. So thank you for being with us.